Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems. That if it is you, it's yours. If it is me, it's ours. I think I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I am today the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. I mean, forget the history, civilization bit. Everybody knows that. But I think I'm entitled to have my own side. I'm entitled to weigh my own interests, make my own choices.
Staying with India, between 15 and 29 million Indians died of starvation in British-induced famines. The most famous example, of course, was the Great Bengal Famine during the Second World War, when 4 million people died because Winston Churchill deliberately, as a matter of written minuted policy, proceeded to divert essential supplies from civilians in Bengal to sturdy Tommies and Europeans as reserve stockpiles. He said that the starvation of anyway underfed Bengalis mattered much less than that of sturdy Greeks. This is Churchill's actual quote. And when conscience-stricken British officials wrote to him, pointing out that people were dying because of this decision, he peevishly wrote in the margins of the file, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" So all notions that the British were trying to do their colonial enterprise out of enlightened despotism to try and bring the benefits of colonialism and civilization to the benighted heathen. I'm sorry, Churchill's...
We have, a lot of common interests and an ability to work together. Even in the Indo-Pacific, we may not agree on everything, but we have substantial agreement. But there would be other areas. You picked Ukraine. I could as well pick Pakistan or Afghanistan and say, okay, why aren't you all endorsing India's position? But many of them are not. I mean, some of them don't even endorse my map. Some members of the Quad have an expectation. Okay, I also have an expectation of the world. So tell me, what are these expectations? No, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I have a neighbor who practices terrorism day in, day out. Why don't all of them sign up for everything that I am saying? Why don't they have identical positions with me on terrorism?
The British actually purchased grain that the Bengalis could barely afford to buy in order to ship it to Europe, not to aid the war effort, as his defenders claim, but to boost the buffer stocks in the event of a future possible invasion of Greece and Yugoslavia. People started dying, and Churchill said, well, it's all their fault anyway for breeding like rabbits. He said, I hate the Indians, they're a beastly people with a beastly religion. Australian ships were docking in Calcutta port and were ordered by Churchill and his odious paymaster General Lord Chauvel not to disembark their wheat, but to sail on to Europe, where their wheat might be used in some future reserve stock, saying that people were dying literally on the streets, and all Churchill could bring himself to do was write peevishly on the side of the file, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?"
Wow.
And this is the man the British want us to hail as an apostle of freedom and democracy, when he has as much blood on his hands as some of the worst genocidal dictators of the 20th century.
Trying to curtail funding for the war in Ukraine, whereas by purchasing this oil for national interest, India is being asked, are you funding this war?
Tell me if buying Russian gas is not funding the war? I mean, why is it's only Indian money and oil coming to India which funds, but it's not gas coming to Europe which funds? Let's be a little even-handed out here. Countries in Europe and the West and the United States are so concerned, why don't they allow Iranian oil to come into the market? Why don't they allow Venezuelan oil to come into the market? I mean, they've squeezed every other source of oil we have, and then say, okay guys, you must not go into the market and get the best deal for your people. I don't think that's a very fair approach.
It's an understood, accepted fact that you have the West, US-led, you have China as the next potential axis. Where does India fit into this? Are you planning to not pick a side?
No, I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it. I mean, I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that. I mean, I think I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I am today the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. I mean, forget the history, civilization bit, everybody knows that. But I think I'm entitled to have my own side, I'm entitled to weigh my own interests, make my own choices, and my choices will not be cynical and transactional, but they will be a balance of my values and my interests. There is no country in the world which disregards its interests.